I wrote Isiah Pacheco, RB1 2023 question mark. Because he was running hot down the stretch this season.
Yeah, you have to respect a running back who's good despite always seeking contact.
Yes. And a lot of times those guys get hurt a lot early in their career and they kind of figure it out, but he is definitely an injury waiting to happen.
I mean, you actually see him. I mean, I'll get into the numbers in a second, but you actually watch Pacheco and, he runs angry, obviously, like a Marshawn Lynch, Marion Barber type runner. And that definitely has a place in the game. But there are times where he's in the open field and he starts looking for somebody.
He swerves back.
And you're like, listen, you seem like a good runner. Sometimes you gotta avoid people. You have to. So maybe we can get more of that. Anyway, he was one of the most efficient runners in the league this year in rush yards over expected per attempt. Very nerdy stat, but a very useful one. I don't think that this Kansas City offense is conducive to an RB1 unless something changes with the way they distribute the ball. So I'm guessing he'll be slightly overdrafted in this coming offseason, but maybe not that much.
Well, they could be like a top 5 RB1 if they got the pass catching role. But Isiah Pacheco caught a few more passes. Not that Patrick Mahomes passes to running backs that much, but 3-down role, he'd probably be a top 5 RB1. But even though he caught more passes down the stretch, there wasn't a whole lot of indication that they were about to do that in 2023. And Jerick McKinnon is a free agent. Clyde Edwards-Helaire kind of seems like a dead letter in terms of his role in the offense. He does have another year left on his rookie contract. He will presumably still be on the team, but that was what it would take for Pacheco to probably be like a safe weekly top 12 option. And he caught 5 passes in the AFC Championship game. It looked like he had kind of supplanted Jerick McKinnon there. But that will be a big offseason storyline to follow, what they say about Isiah Pacheco in the passing game.
Yeah, and there will be a lot of hype there if they even suggest that he could.
Yeah, and they will even suggest it, and so then we'll over focus on it. Like, we're going to focus on his hands, and we'll all go nuts. Probably nothing will really change. So I guess try to remember that if you're listening. If Miles Sanders, he's headed to free agency. If he were re-signed by the Eagles, he's just like he's it's weird though, but he I don't even know how he scored 11 touchdowns this season. Like how many he seeded to Jalen Hurts and Kenneth Gainwell. Even Boston Scott had 3 or 4. Miles Sanders is just, I think, fully, and I will let someone else draft him territory. I'm done. I'm over it. Even though he had almost 1,300 yards this year, I'm just totally over it. Am I overreacting?
My fantasy teams could have used a little Miles Sanders myself, but I know what you mean. I mean, he's not involved in the passing game at all. And
he averaged 3.9 yards per reception, which is actually impossible. Impossible.
He's not a good pass catcher, and he's not involved. I mean, there were games where he was running 3 routes, so he's just not out there for passing plays. So that lops off a huge portion of his PPR potential. I do think that being the de facto primary back on a high-scoring, efficient offense is not the worst thing. I'm not writing him off. I do understand the frustration. I'm not writing him off as someone that I might dabble with. I might get crazy. You never know.
Yeah, I'm taking it personally. I'm writing him off.
Yeah, personally.
It will be interesting if he ended up somewhere else. I just don't know what to make of the guy. I feel like the Eagles still don't know what to make of him. Where they really throttled off him late in the year. It was pretty much every critical red zone touch was Kenneth Gainwell in the most important games of the year. I said Devontae Smith, wide receiver 1 upside question mark. He was actually 9th in yards this year with 1196. He was tied for 11th with 95 catches. He was already, wide receiver 1 by the letter of that law. He wasn't quite by average PPR points. He was right on the cusp though. He's the wide receiver 13 or 14. So will he maintain his borderline wide receiver 1 production, or do we think that maybe this Eagles offense just won't be so as crazily efficient in 2023?
Yeah, they could take a step back just for regression reasons. I know folks don't like to hear that word, but it is a thing, and it does affect how players produce. I do obviously see, and I'm going to be very controversial here and say AJ Brown is a roadblock here for Devontae Smith. So if AJ Brown were to miss significant time, Devontae Smith would be a tremendous fantasy asset. Although he still is. I mean, I'm not trying to take away anything. Here are some numbers from the regular season. If you look at targets per route run, AJ Brown was targeted on 28% of his routes, while Smith was targeted on 25% of his routes. That's not a huge difference, but it's enough to be, I think, significant. Brown had 16 more expected fantasy points than Smith, but he had 45 actual fantasy points more than Smith.
Which aligns with him just always being a model breaker. He's just always been a model breaker.
He is. I mean, Brown was, low, as the Zoomers would say, low-key dominant this season. I know it didn't feel that way sometimes to folks who I know. I mean, I had Brown on some teams where I would be like, oh, okay, so Devontae Smith's the wide receiver one in Philadelphia. Okay, yeah. Well, no one told me that. AJ Brown averaged almost 3 yards per route run, which is really high. Smith had 2.2 yards per route run rate this year. And look, only we're talking about air yard share. Only 6 receivers had a higher share of their team's air yards than AJ Brown, and he's competing with Devontae Smith for those yards. So I think it's an incredibly impressive feat.
Is maybe when you were talking about maybe the only thing that could quote save Devontae Smith is maybe that underneath usage is just less volatile, and AJ Brown won't run quite as hot in 2023 on his downfield targets. Where I mean, Patrick Crane is always pointing out. Remember him?
I do.
Yeah, remember that guy
in Arizona? Everybody kept saying, "Where's Crane?" I said, "I think he's scuba diving."
Yeah, he was in Thailand. No, where was he? Was in Indonesia, I think. He was in Indonesia. He's back in the what he now calls the States. He is back in the States now, so he'll be coming out of his vacation coma here quite soon. But he always pointed out how Devontae Smith was really featured on like screens and design looks, so maybe that'll stay sticky. And Devontae Smith will be a very, 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 very fascinating ADP. Like, there's gonna be so many guys from this game. I feel like Pacheco, Miles Sanders, and Devontae Smith, and the next guy we're talking about could be some of the most fascinating ADPs of the entire offseason.
I want to get ahead of I know this discourse is coming. I'm drafting Devontae Smith ahead of AJ Brown. I don't care. No, that's not right. That's incorrect.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.